They say betrayal does not always come like a storm. Sometimes it walks out of a gym on a bright, quiet Saturday morning, shirtless and smug, with your wife clinging to its arm like you never mattered. My name is Logan Carter. I am 42 years old. I run a small construction business down in Kingsville, Texas. Before this life, I served 17 years in the Navy, most of them as a SEAL. I have seen war, death, and chaos. But nothing quite prepared me for the quiet, festering kind of betrayal that comes from the one person you built your whole damn world around. That morning, I was not looking for a fight. I just wanted answers. Or maybe I wanted confirmation that the woman I married was already gone. Either way, I got more than I bargained for. I had seen her car in the lot as I pulled up. That silver Honda Civic with the cracked rear light, still with the Veterans Family decal I bought her after our anniversary trip to Colorado. I parked beside it and leaned back in my seat, engine off, eyes fixed on the front door of the gym across the lot, Maxwell's MMA. I already knew who I was going to see. Her name was Tara, my wife, 36. Once the soft-spoken nurse who waited for me through 2 tours overseas, the woman who cried when I came home and told me she did not care about the scars. But people change, and some do not even bother to hide it. They came out laughing. He was shirtless, of course he was, and wearing those neon green shorts like he was walking out onto the UFC stage. Derek Maddox. Real name, I would later learn, was Donnie. But at the time, all I saw was a guy with protein powder for brains and a camera in his hand. He had his arm around Tara's waist like she belonged to him, and maybe by then, she did. When he saw me, he stopped walking. A smirk pulled at his lips, like he had been waiting for this moment all week. "You do not scare me, old man," he said, loud enough for the gym crowd to hear, the kind of line you say when you think you have already won. I did not say a word. I just stepped out of my truck, slow and steady, like I was walking up to a target in the dark. I looked him in the eye and rolled up my left sleeve, just enough so he could see the tattoo on my forearm, the Navy SEAL trident. His smile dropped, just a little. That is the thing about guys like Derek. They bark loud, puff their chest, but when they see a man who has actually seen combat, they shrink back. Because deep down, they know they are playing soldier in a world they never earned. Tara did not say anything either. Her eyes darted from me to him, back to me. There was guilt there, but not enough to make her stop. Maybe she was scared I would make a scene. Maybe she hoped I would. But I had no plans for drama, not yet. I just nodded at them, turned, and got back in my truck. Derek was still trying to look tough, flexing like a cartoon character, but I had already sized him up. The kind of guy who never fought for anything that mattered. I had fought for my brothers, for my country, for her. And she traded all that for abs and a gym membership. That was the moment everything shifted. Not because I felt hurt. I had already felt that, but because I realized who I was dealing with. This was not just about a failed marriage. This was about respect, about truth, about dignity. Derek thought he was in control of the story. He thought he could humiliate me in public and walk away the hero. But I had trained for situations worse than this. And unlike him, I knew exactly what kind of war I was walking into. I spent 17 years in the United States Navy, and most of that time I wore the trident on my chest. I was a SEAL. And my life was built around discipline, danger, and brotherhood. I saw places I cannot talk about, Afghanistan, Syria, places where a wrong step meant you never came home. We operated in silence, often behind enemy lines, with no backup, no news coverage, and no room for mistakes. I lost friends out there. Real men. Men who died with honor. And through all those years, the one thing that kept me grounded was the thought of coming home to my wife, Tara. She was my anchor, my reason, my peace. or so I believed. When I finally retired and came home for good 3 years ago, I thought the hardest part of my life was behind me. I had scars, sure, on my body and in my head, but I had made it back. I traded war zones for a construction business. I started small, pouring concrete and building decks. I liked the simplicity of it, the routine, the silence. What I did not expect was the silence that would come from the woman I thought I knew. At first, it was little things. Tara stopped waiting up for me. No more warm dinners. No more welcome home hugs. She said she was tired from work, and I believed her. I wanted to believe her. The house started to feel colder, emptier. Our bedroom turned into two separate worlds. I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, and she would turn her back to me without a word. No late-night talks, no shared laughter like we used to have. Just a wall between us, and I could not climb it. I thought maybe it was me. Maybe the years away had changed me too much. Maybe the man who came back was not the same one who left. I blamed myself. I even started going to therapy, quietly, hoping to fix whatever was broken. But the more I tried, the more distant she became. Then came the excuses. Long shifts at the hospital, girls' nights, weekend seminars out of town. I did not question them at first. I wanted to trust her. I was still holding on to the version of her that cried when I left for my final deployment, the version that kissed every scar like it mattered. But that version of her was gone. What was left was someone colder, someone who flinched when I touched her, someone who avoided my eyes when I said, "I love you." And then, one night, it all cracked. I came home early from a site job. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter, and I saw a message pop up. "Miss you already, baby. D." My heart dropped. I clicked on it. Messages, photos, videos, all of them. Derek Maddox. The same guy who would later stand in front of me in a parking lot, acting like he had won something. That was the night I stopped blaming myself. The truth was ugly, but it was also freeing. I was not crazy. I was not broken. I was betrayed. It was just another Tuesday, hot and dusty, like most days on a concrete job. We had finished earlier than expected, so I packed up, told the guys I was heading out, and drove home thinking I might surprise Tara with takeout from that Thai place she liked. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed her car was already there. Strange, I thought. She had said she had a double shift that day. I stepped inside the house quietly, not trying to sneak, just not expecting to see anyone. The living room was empty, the TV off, and there was no sound from upstairs, but on the kitchen counter sat her laptop, screen still glowing. I would not have looked if I had not seen the message pop up in real time. A simple little chat window in the corner of the screen, flashing those words like they belonged in our home. "Can't wait to see you tonight, baby, D." That was it. That was all it took to stop me in my tracks. My stomach dropped. My throat tightened. I stood there for a moment, my hands still covered in dust, staring at that screen like it might change. But it didn't. So I clicked. I wish I could say I hesitated, but I didn't. I clicked because I had to know. I had to see. What opened next made my blood run cold. There they were, Tara and Derek, wrapped up in each other, smiling, laughing, kissing. Pictures of them at the lake cabin, our lake cabin. The one I had rebuilt from the ground up after a tornado tore through it 6 years ago. I had spent months replacing every board, redoing the wiring, hauling stone for the new fireplace. It had been our escape, our dream. And now it was their hideout, their getaway. I stared at the screen, each image stabbing a little deeper than the last. Her in the hammock, him shirtless by the grill, her wearing my old flannel shirt, the same one she used to sleep in when I was away on missions. I didn't yell. I didn't punch a wall or throw anything. That is not who I am. Not anymore. What I felt was not rage. It was clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. The kind that comes when you have seen betrayal before, only now it is in your own home, wearing your clothes, drinking your coffee, and calling itself love. I closed the laptop slowly, wiped my hands on a rag, and took a deep breath. Everything changed in that moment. Not just how I saw her, but how I saw myself. I had spent months trying to fix something that was already broken, and now I saw the truth. I did not get angry. I got focused. Because if there is one thing the military teaches you, it is how to respond with control, not emotion. She had chosen her path. Now it was time for me to choose mine. And I was going to walk it with my head high and my eyes wide open. After the shock of what I saw on Tara's laptop, I did not spiral. I got quiet, focused, the way I always did before a mission. I did not know much about Derek Maddox at that point, other than the name he signed his messages with and the smug face I had seen once outside Maxwell's MMA gym. But I knew enough to start digging. Tara never picked men at random. There had to be more to him. And if I was going to walk through this storm with any sense of control, I needed to know exactly who I was dealing with. A quick online search told me more than I expected. Derek the Dragon Maddox. That was how he branded himself online. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. He was all over it. Thousands of followers, mostly teenage boys and wannabe fighters hyping him up in the comments. He filmed himself lifting weights, yelling into the camera, giving relationship advice like he was some kind of philosopher warrior. His favorite videos, though, were from bars. Him getting into shouting matches, puffing up his chest, swinging fists at drunk guys twice his age. For content, he would always say in the captions. That was his whole thing, fake toughness, real attention. I decided to go see him in action. Dressed in plain work clothes, I walked into Maxwell's one afternoon and signed the waiver. The front desk girl did not recognize me. Neither did he. He was on the mat, sparring with a kid barely out of high school. The whole place smelled like sweat and ego. I watched from the corner, silent, arms crossed. Derek moved fast, sure, and he had power, but everything about him screamed untrained aggression, wild punches, no footwork, no rhythm. He relied on brute strength and intimidation, but there was no strategy, no control, no patience, just noise. I stayed an hour, watching how he carried himself, always loud, always looking around to see who was watching him. Every move he made was for the audience, even when there was none. After the session, he high-fived a few guys, flexed in the mirror, and filmed a short clip for his followers. "Another day, another victim," he said with a wink. I almost laughed. Because while he was busy pretending to be a warrior, I had already started to pick him apart. I noted everything. The way he dropped his right hand after every jab, the way he favored his left knee, the way his ego walked 3 steps ahead of his body. SEALs are trained to study people in silence, to observe, not react. You do not go in guns blazing. You gather, you assess, and you wait. And what I saw that day told me all I needed to know. Derek Maddox was not dangerous. He was reckless, loud, weak where it mattered most. He had no discipline, no foundation, no idea that someone like me was even capable of being in his world. But I was, and I was just getting started. About a week after I visited Derek's gym, I got a text from Tara. It was short, polite, and hollow, like something copied and pasted from a script. She said she wanted to talk things out, maybe meet up for dinner and clear the air. She even picked the spot, Roscoe's Grill. That alone told me something was off. Roscoe's was where we had our first anniversary dinner. She had not mentioned that place in years. The timing, the wording, the location, it all reeked of setup. And sure enough, I was right. When I pulled into the parking lot that evening, I sat for a few minutes in the truck, watching the entrance, already rehearsing how this would play out. I walked in calmly, dressed in jeans and a clean shirt, like I had nothing to hide and nothing to fear. Tara was already seated at a booth near the back, looking just a little too put together, nervous smile, tight shoulders. She greeted me with that same empty politeness, like she was pretending we were just two adults trying to be civil. I played along, asked how work was going, nodded when she talked, let her lead the conversation. About 10 minutes in, the front door opened, and there he was. Derek Maddox, in all his fake alpha glory, walking toward us with a phone in his hand, already recording like this was the grand finale of some online drama he was producing. He slid into the booth beside her without asking, tossed me a crooked smile, and held the phone up to his chest. "Hope you do not mind me joining," he said. "Just wanted to see how the man of the house was doing." Tara looked away. She knew exactly what this was. They wanted footage. Me angry, humiliated, broken. They wanted a clip they could laugh about later, maybe even post online with some ridiculous caption like, "How I Replaced a Navy SEAL." I gave them none of that. I leaned back in my seat, took a slow sip of water, and let my shoulders slump just slightly, enough to look unsure, even weak. "I guess I just want to understand how it all went so wrong," I said, my voice low and soft. Derek smirked, leaned in a little closer, and said with a chuckle, "You were never man enough for her." That was his big line. That was what he had come here to say. That was his knockout punch. But I had one of my own. I looked him straight in the eye and whispered just loud enough for the phone mic to catch it. "Keep filming. You'll want to remember this moment." His grin twitched like he did not quite know what I meant. But Tara knew. She stiffened. I saw it in her eyes. I was not there to beg. I was not there to break. I was there to set the stage. Because they thought they were in control. But in reality, this was just the beginning. I had already done the recon. I knew their moves before they made them, and I was about to flip the script. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, still hearing Derek's voice echo in my head from Roscoe's grill. The smug look on his face, the way he leaned in, thinking he had won. It lit a fire in me. I was not just angry. I was done being humiliated. So I called in a favor. An old buddy of mine from my cybersecurity days owed me a solid. He did not ask many questions, just took a deep breath and said, "Send me what you've got." I forwarded Derek's social handles, his video clips, everything I had. Less than 4 hours later, my phone buzzed. My guy had done what he does best, pulled back the curtain. Derek was not even Derek. His real name was Donnie Maddox. That alone made me pause. Donnie? I nearly laughed out loud, but it got better, or worse, depending on how you looked at it. Donnie had once tried to become an amateur MMA fighter. Keyword, tried. He only ever won one fight, and that was against a 50-year-old janitor who filled in last minute when the original opponent dropped out. Donnie bragged about being a warrior, but in reality, the only war he fought was against his own ego. My buddy pulled up records from 3 different states. Donnie had 2 assault charges, both for bar fights he started after getting mouthy with the wrong guys. Both times, he pleaded out to avoid jail time. The cherry on top? He had a fake military record, claimed to be ex-Special Forces, even had a phony DD-214 posted on one of his Reddit threads, which my guy confirmed was doctored. He never served a single day. Just another layer of lies wrapped in muscle tees and empty threats. The steroid suspension made even more sense now. He had tested positive after his second and final fight, which explained why he suddenly pivoted from the ring to the internet. Fighting was never the dream. Clout was. Donnie found more attention pretending to be a beast online than actually earning it in real life. The internet gave him a mask, and he wore it like a crown. But reality? Reality told a different story. His gym was 3 months behind on rent. My friend found legal notices posted online. The landlord had already started eviction proceedings. Donnie had posted a flashy gym tour just last week, pretending business was booming. But behind the scenes, he was barely keeping the lights on. And here's the kicker. The guy was still filming content while on probation. Probation? For one of his earlier assault cases. That alone was a legal nightmare waiting to happen. He was violating conditions left and right just for clicks and likes. I sat there in the dark, phone glowing in my hand, and thought, this is who she threw our life away for? A poser with fists and no future. I went back to the gym with one goal in mind. Not to fight, but to expose. Derek was in the middle of filming another one of his training montages. Shirt off, sweat misted onto his chest, camera tilted just right to catch his jawline. I walked in, nodded like I was just another guy looking for a lift, then waited for him to notice me. When he did, I stepped closer and said with a casual grin, "How about a quick spar?" Just friendly. His expression shifted instantly. Not fear exactly, but hesitation. That pause told me everything. Then came the excuse. "Nah, man," he said, laughing it off. "I don't spar with civilians." I raised an eyebrow but kept the smile. Right. Of course not. I let it hang there, let him hear what I was really saying behind my words. He did not respond, just looked away, like something about the moment made him uncomfortable. And that was exactly what I wanted. Because that perfect tough guy persona of his, it was not holding up under pressure, but it was not until I stepped outside that I found my next card to play. His truck was parked right out front, same black Dodge he always bragged about in his videos. I walked past it like I was heading to my car. Then I stopped. The windshield had a spiderweb crack just left of the driver's side. Not new, not tiny. It had clearly been there for weeks. And something about it clicked in my head. 2 months ago, I remembered reading about a hit and run outside a bar. Same type of truck, same side damage. The article mentioned a broken windshield as the only real lead. My gut twisted. I pulled out my phone, snapped a photo, and sent it to a friend I trusted at the sheriff's office. "Need a favor," I wrote. "Think this could match that hit-and-run case from April?" He replied 10 minutes later. "Same make, same crack pattern. Looks like our guy." I stared at the screen, heart beating slower than usual. This was not just gym drama anymore. This was real-world dirt, the kind you do not walk away from. Derek had been hiding behind flexed biceps and filtered lenses, but now the cracks were more than metaphor. He was already on probation. If he was tied to that accident, it would not just be a slap on the wrist, he would go down hard. I did not need to fake anything or push him into a mistake. I already had the truth. All I had to do was light the fuse and watch it burn, and I was not in a rush. The more he smiled for the camera, the more I smiled to myself, because I knew something he did not. His whole act was about to come crashing down, and he would not even see it coming. I called Tara the next morning, my voice calm, almost tired. I told her I was ready to sign the divorce papers. No more games. No more fighting. "Let's meet at Roscoe's again," I said, "just you and me." She paused, then agreed. I could hear the hint of relief in her voice. Maybe she thought she had won. Maybe she figured I was too broken to keep pushing. But that was the thing. She did not know what I had lined up, what I had been building quietly, while she and Derek played house behind my back. This was not surrender. This was the final round. When she walked into Roscoe's, she looked exactly how I expected. Hair curled, makeup subtle but polished, wearing the same soft expression she used when she wanted to come off as the reasonable one, but her smile froze the second she saw who was at the table. I was already seated, not alone, but with my attorney and a reporter from the local paper. The air changed instantly. You could feel it, thick with tension. The reporter had everything spread out neatly. The photo of Derek's cracked windshield, the police record from the hit and run 2 months ago, the screen captures from their private messages, even the security footage from the gym where Derek threatened me on camera. All of it, right there in front of her. "Care to comment?" the reporter asked, her voice calm but firm. Tara's face drained of color. She looked at me first, searching my expression for some kind of mercy. Then she looked at the attorney, and finally at the evidence stacked on the table like a tower of bricks, ready to fall. She tried to open her mouth, but nothing came out. Not a word. Her hands fidgeted in her lap. You could see her trying to calculate something. Maybe an exit, maybe a lie that would hold long enough to buy her time. But there was no time left. The walls were closing in. I leaned back, letting the silence stretch. It was not about shouting. It was about the weight of truth settling into the space between us. Tara had built her world on half-truths and charm, but charm does not stand a chance against cold, hard facts. She knew it. She could feel it. This was not just about the divorce anymore. It was about reputation, custody, even criminal liability. Derek was already being looked at by the sheriff's office, and if he went down, she might get dragged with him. She was not just scared, she was cornered. I did not raise my voice. I did not need to. "We can do this the hard way," I said quietly, "or you can sign everything I put in front of you and walk out of here with what is left of your name." She nodded slowly, the fight gone from her eyes. The game was over. I had waited patiently for the right moment, and now it was mine. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing non-stop. I ignored it and walked out to grab the newspaper, not thinking much of it. But there it was. Front page, bold letters. "TikTok fighter's life is a lie." Right underneath that headline was Derek's face, half lit in a fight stance. And beside it, a still shot from the security camera footage of him screaming threats at me. The article pulled no punches. It laid everything out. His fake motivational videos, his history of domestic complaints, his shady financial deals, even his juvenile criminal record that had been sealed for years but somehow leaked. And then, of course, the cherry on top, his affair with Tara, caught and confirmed through screenshots, call logs, and the betrayal that unraveled his picture-perfect brand. Before noon, Derek's sponsors started pulling out. 2 of his biggest partnerships, one with a protein powder company and another with a local fitness chain, announced publicly that they were ending their relationship with him. The gym where he trained issued a statement distancing itself from his actions and barred him from entering until further notice. He was not just a man exposed. He was a brand collapsing in real time. The internet, once his playground, turned on him like wildfire. People who had once praised him were now tearing him down, reposting the article, dissecting every line of his past videos, pointing out the lies hidden in plain sight. He had built his following on strength, loyalty, and image, and all of it burned away before lunch. Tara tried calling me, again and again. I watched her name pop up on my screen, but I did not answer, not once. I had said all I needed to say when she walked into Roscoe's and saw the reporter sitting across from me. I had given her the truth, and now I owed her nothing more. After a few days of silence, she finally filed for divorce. No more pretending, no alimony, no battle, just papers quietly sent to my attorney and signed with no fight. It was strange how, after months of betrayal and chaos, the ending came not with a bang, but with silence. I did not feel victorious. I did not feel like I had won anything, but I did feel free. Derek was facing legal trouble, public disgrace, and the loss of everything he thought made him powerful. Tara had lost the man she risked it all for and the future she gambled on. And I, for once, felt like I could breathe. The storm had passed. The lies had been dragged into the light. The dragon they both rode on for so long had finally fallen, and I was still standing, a little bruised, a little older, but whole. And that was enough. I did not go through all of that to get revenge. That was never the goal. I just wanted to breathe again without feeling like I was drowning in someone else's lies. I wanted to wake up in the morning and not second-guess my entire past. I wanted peace, and now I have it. It did not come in the form of headlines or public shame. It did not come from watching Derek fall apart, even though he did. My peace came quietly, like the early morning sun after a long, violent storm. After everything settled down, I reconnected with an old Navy buddy. He had just moved back to town, and we started talking about building something together. Something honest, something that mattered. That is how our veteran-owned construction company came to be. We began small, just a few tools, a beat-up truck, and 2 guys who knew how to work hard. Now we have 6 crews, solid contracts, and a reputation for doing the job right. People trust us, and I trust myself again. That is the part I never thought I would get back, my own reflection. But I did. Derek, he vanished. After the story broke, he lost almost everything. He went from being the neighborhood's golden boy to a cautionary tale. Sponsors dropped him. His gym cut ties. He even tried starting a new fitness account under a different name, but the internet never forgets. And people are not as quick to forgive once they see who you really are. I do not know where he is now. Truth is, I stopped caring. I do not carry him in my mind anymore. That weight is gone. Tara tried calling me a few times after everything hit the fan, but I never picked up. There was nothing left to say. No apology could touch the damage. She filed for divorce that same week, clean, fast, no fight, no alimony, no explanations. Just silence. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was her version of closure. Or maybe for once, she realized I was done. Last I heard, she moved to Arizona and started dating some self-help guru with a man bun and a podcast about realigning your energy. Sounds about right. People always say karma takes its time. And most days, I believed that. I thought I would spend years wondering if the scales would ever balance. But now, I think karma has a sense of humor. Because sometimes, it shows up fast. Sometimes it looks like a liar in gym shorts, standing in an old parking lot, trying to pretend nothing happened. And sometimes it looks like a man rebuilding his life with calloused hands, surrounded by people who know what real loyalty means. I did not win by destroying anyone. I won by walking away and building something better. That is where peace lives. Not in revenge, but in the life you choose to live after the storm.